NBA earthquake nobody saw coming? What if I told you the next NBA super team isn't being built in Los Angeles? What if I told you the move that could change the balance of power in the entire Eastern Conference is happening right now behind closed doors? And what if the player at the center of it all is none other than Giannis Antetokounmpo? Because according to growing reports around the league, the Boston Celtics are no longer dreaming about adding another superstar. They're actively exploring what it would take to bring the most dominant force in basketball to Boston. And for the first time in years, Giannis isn't shutting the door on the possibility. That alone should send chills through every front office in the NBA. While most fans are still talking about the New York Knicks celebrating their championship, Boston has already moved on. No excuses, no waiting, no promises about next season. The Celtics are operating with one goal in mind: make sure they never have to watch another rival lift a trophy again. And that's where this story becomes dangerous. Because this isn't about adding another role player. This isn't about tweaking the roster around the edges. This is about potentially pairing Giannis Antetokounmpo with Jayson Tatum and creating a basketball nightmare the rest of the league may not be prepared to handle. Think about that for a second. One of the league's most unstoppable interior forces. One of the league's most complete two-way superstars on the same team, in the same conference, chasing the same championship. Even more shocking, Boston appears willing to sacrifice pieces that were once considered untouchable. Names that fans never imagined could be involved in trade discussions are suddenly being mentioned behind the scenes. And here's what makes this situation different from every other rumor you've heard over the years. The Bucks aren't immediately slamming the phone down. They're listening. After years of trying to maximize Giannis's championship window, Milwaukee finds itself facing a reality that nobody wanted to acknowledge. The roster is aging. The financial pressure is growing. The competition in the East is stronger than ever. For the first time, the impossible is starting to feel possible. But then Giannis broke his silence, and what he said wasn't a denial. It wasn't a commitment. It wasn't a guarantee that he'll retire a Buck. Instead, his comments left the entire basketball world reading between the lines, wondering if one of the most loyal superstars of this generation is preparing for the biggest decision of his career. Could Boston really pull this off? Would Milwaukee actually consider moving the greatest player in franchise history? And if Giannis leaves, what happens to the entire Eastern Conference? We're about to break down every angle of this developing blockbuster, because the deeper you look into this story, the crazier it becomes. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city, state, or country in the comments below. And let me ask you this: if Giannis joins Boston, press 1. If Giannis should stay in Milwaukee forever, press 2. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because what we're about to reveal next changes everything. Why Milwaukee is suddenly listening. Before anyone screams that Milwaukee would never trade Giannis, we need to be honest about where the Bucks are right now. This is not the same fearless team that stormed through the league in 2021. That version of Milwaukee had balance, belief, defense, chemistry, and a superstar playing like he was sent from another planet. Giannis was destroying walls in the paint. Chris Middleton was hitting impossible shots. Drew Holiday was locking people up. Brook Lopez was protecting the rim like a gatekeeper. But the NBA moves fast. Championship teams do not stay frozen in time. Players age, contracts grow heavier, injuries change timelines, rival teams reload, and suddenly, the same roster that once looked built for a dynasty starts looking like a team trapped between the past and the future. That is exactly where Milwaukee finds itself now. The Bucks still have Giannis, but having Giannis is no longer enough by itself. The Eastern Conference has become deeper, tougher, and more ruthless. The Knicks are no longer a joke. The Celtics are desperate. The Heat always find a way to stay dangerous. The Pacers are rising. The Sixers are still hunting for their window. Milwaukee is no longer chasing one team. They are trying to survive an entire conference that has passed the comfort stage and entered war mode. And the biggest problem is not just basketball. It is money. Giannis's contract is massive. The supporting cast is expensive. The second apron rules have made it brutally difficult for teams to keep adding talent when they are already financially stretched. Every move costs more. Every mistake hurts longer. Every bad contract becomes a locked door. For Milwaukee, this means one painful truth. Improving around Giannis is not as simple as signing another star or trading for one more scorer. They are boxed in, and when a team is boxed in, the front office has to start asking the question nobody wants to hear. Are we still building around our superstar, or are we delaying the rebuild because we are too afraid to say goodbye? That is why Boston's call mattered. Because if the Celtics are offering Jaylen Brown, a proven all-star wing still in his prime, plus salary pieces and serious draft capital, Milwaukee has to listen. Not because they want to lose Giannis, not because they forgot what he means to the city, but because responsible organizations cannot run from reality forever. Giannis gave Milwaukee everything. A championship, respect. Global attention, pride. A new identity. But if the Bucks can no longer give him a true championship roster, then the conversation changes. And that is what makes this situation so emotional. This does not feel like betrayal. It feels like two sides slowly realizing that love alone does not always fix a broken timeline. Milwaukee fans understand that better than anyone. They do not want to see Giannis in another jersey. They do not want to watch him chase banners in Boston. But deep down, many of them know the team has not done enough to prove that another championship run is coming soon. That is the crack in the foundation, and Boston is trying to drive straight through it. Boston's cold-blooded plan, the Celtics are not acting like a team interested in small changes. They are acting like a team that just watched a rival celebrate and decided never again. That is the difference between panic and ambition. Panic teams make messy moves. Ambitious teams make brutal ones, and Boston appears ready to make the kind of brutal decision that only championship-obsessed franchises are willing to make. Putting Jaylen Brown into a potential Giannis package tells you everything. Brown is not a throwaway name. He is not a backup plan. He is not some salary filler being pushed into a deal to make the numbers work. Jaylen Brown is a championship-level wing, an elite athlete, a two-way star, and one of the most important players of this Celtics era. Trading him would hurt. It would shock the locker room. It would divide the fan base. But that is exactly why the rumor feels so serious. Boston would not let Brown's name surface unless the target was massive. And in the NBA, there are only a handful of players you even consider doing that for. Giannis is one of them. The Celtics know what a Tatum-Giannis pairing would mean. They know the rest of the East would have to rethink everything overnight. They know no team wants to see Jayson Tatum spacing the floor while Giannis attacks the rim like a freight train. That is not just a duo. That is a nightmare. Tatum gives Boston elite shot creation, smooth scoring, playoff experience, and the ability to take over games from the perimeter. Giannis gives them force, pressure, rebounding, defense, transition violence, and the kind of paint dominance that breaks defensive schemes before they even begin. Together, they would ask defenses an impossible question. Do you load up on Giannis and give Tatum cleaner looks? Or do you send help at Tatum and let Giannis attack open space? Either answer creates pain. And that is exactly what Boston wants. The Celtics do not want a roster that merely competes with New York. They want one that terrifies New York. They want a team that walks into Madison Square Garden and makes the defending champions feel smaller. But the price is enormous. Jaylen Brown leaving would not just be a basketball move. It would be an emotional fracture. Brown has been part of the Celtics' identity for years. He has grown with Tatum. He has taken criticism. He has delivered big moments. He has represented Boston through wins, collapses, expectations, and pressure. That is why this potential trade is not easy. The Celtics would be choosing a higher ceiling over loyalty to their current core. They would be saying that great is not enough if legendary is available. That sounds cold, but the NBA is cold, and Boston did not build its reputation by being sentimental. The banners in that arena are not decorations. They are expectations. Every season without a title feels like failure. Every rival celebration feels like an insult. So now the Celtics are staring at the biggest possible swing. And the question is simple. Are they brave enough to break their own heart to build something even more dangerous? What Giannis really said without saying it. The most fascinating part of this entire story is not Boston's offer. It is not Milwaukee's hesitation. It is Giannis' response. Because when trade rumors surround most superstars, they usually choose one of three paths. They deny everything. They go silent. Or they post some mysterious message that sends fans into chaos. Giannis did something different. He spoke with calm, and that calm may have said more than any dramatic statement ever could. He did not attack Milwaukee. He did not disrespect the franchise. He did not act like a superstar trying to burn the building down on his way out. That has never been Giannis' style. He has always carried himself differently, with a kind of loyalty and humility that fans rarely see from players at his level. He talked about love. He talked about gratitude. He talked about what Milwaukee has meant to him, his family, his career, and his life, and that matters. Because Giannis is not just another great player who passed through Wisconsin. He became the face of the city's basketball identity. He turned Milwaukee into a championship home. He made fans believe that a small market team could still reach the top of the NBA mountain if it had the right star, the right culture, and the right belief. But then came the sentence everyone is now studying. He wants to win. Simple words. Nothing aggressive, nothing disrespectful. But in this context, those words land like thunder. Because when a player like Giannis says he wants to win while trade rumors are connecting him to the Celtics, nobody hears that as a random comment. Front offices hear it, players hear it, fans hear it, Milwaukee hears it, and Boston definitely hears it. What makes it even more powerful is what he did not say. He did not say, "I am staying in Milwaukee no matter what." He did not say, "I will never play for Boston." He did not say, "These rumors are fake." That silence around commitment is where the entire NBA conversation begins. Giannis is too respectful to force chaos, but he is also too competitive to pretend everything is fine if he does not believe the Bucks can truly contend. That puts him in a rare position. He is not demanding a trade, but he is not closing the door either. That middle space is dangerous. It gives Milwaukee room to consider offers. It gives Boston hope, and it gives the rest of the league a reason to panic. Because once a superstar begins thinking seriously about his next championship window, everything changes. Legacy becomes part of the equation. Timing becomes urgent. Loyalty becomes complicated. And the question is no longer just where he has been, it becomes where he can win next. Giannis has already given Milwaukee immortality. No matter what happens, nobody can take 2021 away from him or from that city. But his career is not over. His hunger is not gone. His body is still powerful enough to dominate the league. So, if he looks at the Bucks and sees uncertainty, then looks at Boston and sees Tatum, structure, history, and a real path back to the finals, how could he not think about it? That is the part Milwaukee fans fear most. Not that Giannis hates them, but that he may still love them and leave anyway. The fans are split, and the pain is real. This is where the story stops being just a trade rumor and becomes something much more emotional, because players are assets on paper, but to fans, they are memories. And Giannis is not just a name on Milwaukee's roster. He is the night the city believed again. He is the 5-0-point masterpiece. He is the block, the run, the trophy, the parade, the smile, the promise that Milwaukee could matter on the biggest basketball stage in the world. So when Bucks fans hear that Boston might be coming for him, it does not feel like normal offseason news. It feels personal. Many Milwaukee fans are heartbroken, but not angry at Giannis. That is the painful part. If he had demanded out, insulted the team, or acted like the city was beneath him, the emotion would be easier to process. Fans could turn love into anger, but Giannis has not done that. He has been respectful, he has been grateful, he has been honest, and honesty can hurt more than betrayal. Because deep down, Bucks fans know the situation's not perfect, they know the roster has questions, they know the title window is not as wide as it used to be, they know the East is getting tougher while Milwaukee is trying to hold together a version of the past. That creates a strange kind of sad, the kind where fans do not want their superstar to leave, but also do not want to watch him waste the final elite years of his prime on a team that cannot truly support him. Meanwhile, Boston fans are living in complete chaos. One side is already imagining the parade. They see Giannis in green, they see Tatum finally getting the perfect co-star, they see the Celtics bullying the East, smashing through New York, and returning to the finals with a roster built like a weapon. To those fans, the answer is obvious. You trade for Giannis. You do it fast. You do not overthink it. But the other side cannot ignore the cost. Jaylen Brown means something in Boston. He has been there through pressure, criticism, deep playoff runs, and painful endings. He is part of the emotional history of the Celtics era. Trading him would feel like cutting out a piece of the team's soul, even if the player coming back is better. That is why Celtics fans are fighting each other online. Some are saying, "This is Giannis. You never say no." Others are saying, "Be careful what you destroy to chase something shinier." And honestly, both sides have a point. That is what makes this potential trade so powerful. It is not clean. It is not simple. It is not just a spreadsheet decision. It forces both fan bases to ask what they value more: loyalty or opportunity, continuity or ambition, emotion or championships. And while Milwaukee and Boston wrestle with those questions, the Knicks are watching with a smile. Because nothing makes a defending champion feel stronger than seeing rivals forced into dramatic decisions just to catch up. But that smile may not last long, because if Boston actually lands Giannis, this stops being a rumor. It becomes a warning. The trade that could change everything. Let's assume for a moment that Boston actually gets this done. No last-minute complications. No surprise third team. No ownership intervention. The deal goes through. The second that happens, the entire NBA changes. Because we're no longer talking about a very good Celtics team. We're talking about a roster that instantly becomes one of the most feared groups in basketball. Imagine opening night. The lights dim. The crowd explodes. Jayson Tatum walks onto the floor. Then Giannis Antetokounmpo follows him. Suddenly, every coach in the Eastern Conference is spending sleepless nights trying to solve a problem that may not have a solution. How do you stop two superstars whose strengths are completely different? Tatum can kill you from the perimeter, from isolation situations, from mid-range pull-ups, and from deep three-point range. Giannis destroys teams by attacking the paint, creating chaos in transition, overwhelming defenders with size, speed, and power. Take away one, the other punishes you. Try to guard both. Something breaks. That is what makes this pairing so terrifying. For years, teams have built defensive systems designed specifically to slow Giannis. Build a wall, pack the paint, force jump shots. That strategy becomes almost impossible when one of the league's most dangerous scorers is waiting on the perimeter. Likewise, defenders can't simply focus all their attention on Tatum anymore because Giannis would have free lanes to attack. Boston understands this. They're not chasing Giannis because he's famous. They're chasing him because he solves problems. The Celtics believe championships are won by forcing impossible choices on opponents, and Giannis creates impossible choices every single possession. That's why executives around the league are paying close attention. Not because the trade is guaranteed, because if it happens, everyone else's path becomes much harder. The Knicks know it, the Heat know it, the Sixers know it, the Pacers know it. Nobody wants to wake up and discover that Boston just created the most physically dominant duo in the conference. And that's exactly why this story refuses to die. Because behind every rumor is one uncomfortable truth. The idea actually makes sense. The risk. Nobody wants to talk about, but here's where things get interesting. Because NBA history is full of super teams that looked unbeatable on paper, and not all of them worked. Talent wins headline. Chemistry wins championships. That's the lesson every front office eventually learned. For all the excitement surrounding a potential Giannis to Boston move, there are real questions that nobody can answer until the players actually share a locker room. The first question is simple. Who sacrifices? Every championship team requires sacrifice. Tush. Shots. Minute. Egos. Responsibilities. Something has to give. Tatum has spent years becoming the face of the Celtics. Everything runs through him, the offense, the leadership, the expectations. Then suddenly Giannis arrived. A two-time MVP, an NBA champion. One of the most dominant athletes the sport has ever seen. Now the hierarchy changes, maybe slightly, maybe dramatic. Nobody knows. The second concern involves spacing. While Giannis is unstoppable attacking the rim, he isn't known as an elite perimeter shooter. Boston's coaching staff would need to redesign parts of the offense. New sets, new rotations, new responsibilities. That's not impossible. Great coaches solve difficult problems, but it's still a challenge, and challenges become magnified during the playoffs. That's where every weakness gets exposed. Every flaw gets targeted. Every uncomfortable fit becomes a national conversation. Then there's the emotional cost. Jaylen Brown isn't just another player. He's part of Boston's identity. Teammates trust him. Fans love him. He's helped carry the franchise through some of its biggest moments. Removing someone like that creates a vacuum. Sometimes new stars fill it. Sometimes they don't. That's why some Celtics fans remain nervous. They're not questioning Giannis. They're questioning whether destroying something very good is worth chasing something potentially great. Because if this move fails, the criticism will be brutal. Boston won't be judged for trying. They'll be judged for giving up what they already had. And in a city obsessed with championships, that pressure never disappears. Milwaukee's most painful decision. For Milwaukee, this isn't really about basketball. It's about identity. Giannis transformed the franchise. Before him, Milwaukee was often overlooked. After him, they became champions. The Bucks didn't simply draft a superstar. They found a symbol. A player who chose loyalty when many stars chose bigger markets. A player who stayed. A player who delivered. That's why this potential trade hurts differently. Because replacing Giannis isn't possible. You can replace production. You can replace statistics. You can replace roster spots. You cannot replace meaning. And that's what makes the front office's decision so difficult. If they keep Giannis, they're betting they can still build a championship contender around him. If they're wrong, they risk wasting valuable years of his prime. If they trade him, they receive assets, flexibility, young talent, and draft capital. But they lose the face of an entire era. No executive wants that responsibility. No owner wants that phone call. No fan wants that press conference. Yet every franchise eventually reaches a crossroads. Some choose emotion. Others choose logic. The Bucks may soon be forced to choose between both. And here's the reality nobody in Milwaukee wants to hear. If Giannis privately believes Boston gives him a better chance to win another championship, the pressure on the organization becomes overwhelming. Because keeping a superstar who no longer believes in the timeline rarely ends well. That's why league executives are watching every comment, every interview, every rumor, every report. They're trying to answer one question. Has Giannis already started imagining life after Milwaukee? If the answer is yes, then the Celtics may be closer than anyone realizes. The Eastern Conference is watching in fear. The funniest part about this entire situation, Boston and Milwaukee aren't the only teams involved. Every contender in the Eastern Conference is paying attention. The Knicks just climbed to the top. They're celebrating. They're enjoying the spotlight. But if Giannis joins Boston, That celebration suddenly comes with a warning label, because the Celtics wouldn't simply improve, they would become a direct threat to New York's throne. Then there are the Miami Heat, a franchise that always believes it's one move away. Imagine watching Boston add Giannis. That changes everything. The same goes for Philadelphia. The same goes for Indiana. The same goes for every front office trying to position itself for the next championship race. One superstar move can reshape an entire conference. We've seen it before. We've seen teams become contenders overnight. We've seen dynasties begin with a single trade. And that's why this rumor has captured the league's attention. Not because Giannis is available, because Giannis in Boston feels like the kind of move that creates a new era. An era where every team is suddenly chasing the Celtics again. The scary part? We're still waiting to find out if this is only the beginning, the final crossroads. In the end, this story is bigger than one trade. It is about time. Giannis has given Milwaukee loyalty, greatness, and a championship that will live forever. The Bucks gave him belief, opportunity, and a city that embraced him as family. That connection matters. It should never be dismissed like a simple transaction. But the NBA does not pause for emotion. Championship windows close fast, teams change fast, careers move faster than fans want to admit, and for a superstar like Giannis, every season now carries weight. Every roster decision matters. Every lost opportunity becomes part of the legacy conversation. For Boston, this is about ambition. The Celtics see a chance to build something terrifying with Jayson Tatum and Giannis. But ambition always comes with a price. If they trade Jaylen Brown, they are not just moving a player. They are ending a chapter, breaking chemistry, and betting everything on a new future. For Milwaukee, this is about courage. Keeping Giannis would protect the heart of the franchise. Trading him would hurt deeply, but it could give the Bucks a real path into their next era. Neither choice is easy. That is what makes this decision so powerful. The lesson here is simple. Loyalty is beautiful, but loyalty also needs direction. Winning is important, but winning should never erase respect. The best organizations understand both. They honor the past while preparing honestly for the future. If Giannis stays, Milwaukee must prove they can still fight for championships. If he leaves, fans should remember what he gave them, not only how it ended. And if Boston lands him, the entire NBA will have one message waiting. The Celtics are coming. Now, I want to hear from you. If you believe Giannis should chase another championship in Boston, press 1. If you believe he should stay loyal to Milwaukee, press 2. If you think Jaylen Brown should never be traded, press 3. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with another NBA fan, and comment where you are watching from. Because whatever happens next, the whole league is watching.